Hi, good morning, everybody. Afternoon, evening, wherever you are at. It is what 5:13 in the morning. Yeah, I'm up super early. Got a lot of stuff I got to get done today. So hey, yeah, I've been going since about 2:30, 3 o'clock. Um, just to remind everybody, yeah, I'm a clairvoyant, clairaudient, psychic. So everything is entertainment purposes only. Uh, Please go to the box below for the full disclaimer. If you want a private reading, shoot me an email. There's also the link down there if you want to buy me a coffee, cream soda, whatever. So let's just get going. And yeah, I am now. Videos are also going on up on 3 platforms every day on my video days. So yeah, it's a just in case scenario. All right. Uh, Now I heard a phrase when I was doing my research, and it's so true. Please remember, the people that accuse you of being a fascist, usually those are the true fascists. Let me so you don't get the reflection in the mirror. Okay. Now, a lot of stuff that's all over the international news, it's all pertaining to the Z guy. Because right now it's a stalemate. Nobody is budging. And these neocon donkeys, basically they want to keep it a forever. They want to keep this conflict between the blue and yellow flag country and Vlad. They want to keep it going in perpetuity. And they keep calling Vlad the bad guy, when in reality, you got that short little shite guy who walks around in his green sweatpants, jogging suit all the time. He really is a fool who knows nothing. I mean, he's a comedian. And this is just a long, drawn out, stand up comedy act on his behalf. He's basically, he knows nothing. He's wasting supplies. He's wasting lives. And yet he keeps coming back and begging for more and more stuff. So he's wiping out the supplies of everyone that he's begging from. He has his begging bowl out. And foolish idiots like JoJo, which someone came up with a new nickname for him the other day. They're calling him Jim Crow Joe. So Jim Crow Joe and the Cammy Poo show, they're giving all the American backstock to the Z guy. And he's wasting it. And he's so stupid, he's doing a Geraldo Rivera thing by he's always announcing what he's planning on doing. So this way Vlad knows exactly where to move next. Move next, because the Z guy keeps announcing it. Now, something I've got to give kudos to, there's some channels that are really waking up a certain cultural demographic, because they're calling out the nonsense. And it was one of these gentlemen that did give JoJo the nickname Jim Crow Joe. So we need to give kudos out, and please start watching them, because they are able to say what a lot of other people can't say, for fear of the burn, loot, murder crew doxing them. I mean, we've got Black conservative perspective out there. We have Officer Tatum, Daryl a dog, Anthony Brian Logan. Those 4 guys really are saying the truth. And like I've said, they can say what needs to be said without fear of repercussion from the burn, loot, murder crew and their little white minions that go around and dox people. So please keep an eye out and listen to their opinions on what's going on. Now, right now, it was all over different various international news sources how, what's his face in Canada, their Speaker of the House, Anthony Rota. I mean, this guy actually brought up and applauded a former member of the SS who is from the blue and yellow flag country, along with applauding the Z guy. This information is coming out more and more, how bad the real history is of what the blue and yellow flag guys actually did during the 1930s and 40s. And now Just No Brain Trudeau is basically on his knees groveling for world forgiveness. I mean, they don't realize how bad and what they've done. And considering I haven't seen hide nor hair of that CO 1350 that was telling me I know nothing about World War II. Hey, CO 1350, why aren't you saying that to Just No Brain Trudeau and Anthony Rota? They're the two fools. Now we've got stuff happening in the UK. I guess the home secretaries and stuff, they're basically having to go to the UN and beg for revisions because back in the 1950s, yeah, that was early post-war. That's when they came up with the kind of like protocol on how to handle refugees. And the vetting process and so forth, and how to resettlement and thorough background checks. Well, now people want all the rules changed. What do they want? To give them let them in any country they want to go to and then give them everything they need without any vetting process? That's what's happening. And that's the UK fools doing that. And okay, now it was a quiet blurb, but keep your eyes peeled on it. It's in Colombo, which is the city main port of Sri Lanka. Nobody gave them permission, but the Big Red Sea docked a big ship in that port. Basically, it's a spy ship so they can keep an eye on what's happening in India and on the Eastern Arabian Peninsula going down. So, yeah, the Big Red Sea is sending spy ships all over the Pacific and Indian Oceans. So we need to keep, I'm keeping my eyes out on what's happening there. Especially now that, what's his face? What is his name? Okay, where's my notes? I'll get to it. Yeah, right now, the New York Mayor, Adams Apple, has now coming out and saying all these new wetbacks, they're destroying New York City. And it's funny because the wetbacks, even though they don't have to, I've noticed they're wearing masks. It's not because of the C-19 regulations. It's because they don't want their faces shown for fear of identification of being part of a nasty group that smuggles in illegal stuff. And I mean, we're getting boatloads of guys coming in of military age. Basically, it's a soft military invasion coming in through the southern border, and they still don't talk about the boat people that come in on the Florida coast. But we're getting massive amounts of North African jihadists and good little Mao communists from the Big Red Sea. Yes. Start listening to their accents, because many Asians are unable to pronounce a lot of words in the American vocabulary. They have, just listen closely. Yeah, still drinking coffee. Something else that hit the news, and it's real quiet. We know that the military coup in Niger basically kicked out the puppet president, that is the puppet of the EU. And I guess Macron still has like 1,500 troops in Niger. Well, now they've put a deadline, and the real people, the people who want to keep Niger out of the jihadist control, they want the EU troops out ASAP. Because we know that even though they have the laws against the Obayas in France, Macron's troops are actually, the EU is supporting the North African jihadists so they can decimate free-thinking countries. Yeah. And so we've got to keep our eyes watching on what happens with that. Now, one fluke I came across, there's another channel, it's called The King. Start taking a listen to that guy, because he's actually more or less calling a spade, especially when it comes to Henry and Rachel. Now, another source that I've been watching lately, it's the Forbes News Network. You know, remember Malcolm Forbes? And back in the late 80s, early 90s, yeah, back then, yeah, I was, yeah, you could call it, I'd go in and I was a studio session singer. I'd overdub a lot of stuff. And didn't get credit on anything, but at that time I did make some decent money. But to supplement those gigs, I also worked for Macy's. Back when Macy's was a good store, I was a personal shopper, and one of my clients was the Malcolm Forbes estate. Yeah, I'd go and pick out his boxer shorts for them. I'd get the phone call from the major domo, and he'd say, well, Mr. Forbes needs X, Y, and Z. So I'd go around the store, pick it up, pull it all together, put the bill together, and package it up so it would be delivered. So, yeah, and I did have the opportunity to meet him on a couple times. But, yeah, the Malcolm Forbes News, they kind of pull up stuff that nobody else is pulling up. Like, they're pretty good at doing the clips of different committee hearings in Washington. One that they have out, you're going to have to look for it, but it's Representative Debbie Lesko, Republican out of Arizona. She was sitting there with the House, the Committee on Energy and Commerce. And she's really forcing the Biden admin to have extreme diversity when it comes to different energy sources so there aren't any grid failures. So she's like, yeah, we need a mixture of fossil fuel energy, solar power, and wind power. We need a combination of everything together so there's no power grid collapse. So she's looking for a super compromise. Now, something that the Aussie News brought up. Keep your eyes open because allegedly, supposedly, on November 30th, there's going to be a debate between Gruesome Newsom and Ronnie D. I guess they're trying to showcase each other on how they want to run the United States, when neither one of them, we all know how bad California is, and Ronnie D needs to focus on his own state, Florida. Right now, it's hurricane season. What is Ronnie D going out, going all over the lower 48, giving speeches when he should be in his own state house, making sure that hurricane relief is there to his constituents. Now, another committee that had some stuff, House Oversight Committee, Representative Pat Fallon out of Texas, he's making it clear to people that right now inflation is at a 40% high, and interest rates are at over a 20-year high. And what's so awful about that is that Jim Crow Joe keeps giving more and more money to the Z guy. And they keep talking about, forgiving student loans. Well, they're not forgiving student loans. They're just spreading out the loan repayment among everybody. So they're bringing to light how Barry is planning on making good on an alleged campaign promise. Oh, we're going to forgive your student loans, but they found a different way to break up the loans so everybody's paying it, and so the money can be repaid. We all will be hit with new taxes. Yeah. Now, if you want a good laugh at things, folks, there's this dude, I'm guessing he's out of the San Francisco area, where Nutsy Pelosi is from, and that's a city that's been totally decimated by back in late 60s, the city kind of went wonks with the Summer of Free Love, and it started in the Haight-Ashbury district. Well, now there's a dude out there, he's called Taro by the Bay. So if you want a good laugh, you can't take this guy seriously because he doesn't shuffle in front of the camera, so I'm getting that he's rigging the cards. You never see him shuffle, you just see him laying down cards, so I think he stacks the deck. So, yeah. Now people, now they're in the UK, Gatwick Airport is having some issues because I guess somebody let loose, probably through the ventilation system. They opened a window and influenza came in. So a lot of the guys a lot of the people who man the air traffic control tower are now on sick leave. They're claiming it's, what is it, the 19th, well, it was the 19th version in 2020, so what is it, it's mutation number 20 something by now. So now they're limiting Gatwick Airport to a maximum of 800 flights a day. So I guess they usually averaged, around 1,200. So basically 400 flights a day are going to be canceled at Gatwick. So if you're traveling out of there at that airport or flying into it, make sure your flight isn't canceled. Now, another thing that's happening is, I guess the Media Regulatory Commission in the UK, Ofcom, is now under the thumb of that Carol Dingbat, and Ofcom is now pushing all social media. They're starting ahead of the time because I guess that online safety thing passed both houses of Parliament, and it's supposed to go into effect next month, but hopefully Charles will wake up and say, "Nuh-uh, not happening." And like, people do need to send snail mail and have a peaceful picket line in front of Buck House, Clarence House, Windsor Castle. He's still up in Balmoral right now, up and down in front of the gates. Yeah, people need to make their opinions known that this bill that went through is violating free speech. Yeah, but Ofcom is now going after the social media platform that begins with an R. I guess they're going after the one that starts with O, the one that starts with that's X. So yeah, Carol Dingbat, basically she's pushing for all forms of social media to be massively censored. And people in the UK really, really have to stand up and make their opinions known. So yeah, I know there's issues with the Royal Mail Service, but if you live in London, it's easy to hand off a handwritten note to the guards at the gate. It's easy to walk up and back and forth in front of the gates, entry gates, very peacefully, wearing a sign handwritten on a piece of poster board, walking back up and down, letting people know that you're not going to tolerate for free speech to be shut down like it was in the 1930s and 40s in Germany. Now we know that down under Aussie has got some really nasty people trying to do a peaceful handover of Australia to the Big Red Sea. Well, I guess Dan Andrews from Victoria got the message, and he's resigned. Yeah, I mean, this is the guy that was really pushing the modern day Mengele experiments onto people. Well, don't worry, he will be punished for his vile acts, and he will be rewarded with the correct punishment. Okay? And a lot more of his constituents who think the same way, they're going to be stepping down from office. Also, it's like all these pro-Mengele experiment people. I mean, they're rats leaving a sinking ship. It's happening now. It started now in Australia. And here in the States, we're seeing a lot of people who are in political office jumping ship. I mean, the mayor of Dallas the other day just said, "You know what? I'm switching parties. The donkey party is no longer what it was. My values, the values of the people who live here in Dallas, are leaning more towards the conservative, and I'm switching." He switched his political party to the elephants, the GOP. So we're getting more and more donkeys who are in power switching over, especially if they're in states that are red or purple. We have to keep pushing for correction movement in the blue states. I mean, I reposted it on Twitter, on X. It's a profile shot of Pugsley Putzger. I mean, you can see how obese the guy is, how fat. Governor Fat Butt. And so if the 19C was so detrimental to those who are obese, why is he still a fatso? I mean, just the fact that he's still a tub of lard is proof enough to me that the 19C is not fatal. It's just another variant of the normal, everyday enzovirus. And even now, the donkeys are getting so... They know they're losing people. They're like rats running off of a sinking ship down the little ropes onto the docks. But next summer, we're having the Donkey National Convention in Chicago. It's going to be really interesting because I'm going to keep my eyes out, because prior to that, if there's actually movement in that house in Kenwood neighborhood, the one that always has to have 24-hour guards, a CPD cruiser has to be parked in front and in back 24/7. Yeah, it's the Sotero house. So if we start seeing movement in there, it could mean that Barry and Mikey are in residence, because there's now speculation, because we know Jim Crow Joe and Cammy Poo, they're not going to be brought out for another run for 4 years. The donkeys are scraping the bottom of the barrel, and they're thinking the one person that could be the sterling hero for the donkey party is Mikey Sotero. And that parades around under their alias Michelle Obama. So, yeah, I think they're going to try and pull out Mikey to possibly run, because he allegedly has the correct cachet that will bring people in to vote for him. And they may team Mikey up with like Liz Warren or Gruesome Newsom, which would be a real scary thought. Now, the last thing, I do want to mention is, I guess there's another one of these channels that comes up with, that just regurgitates old information. Well, now they're bringing up stuff again about Tierra Gate and how upset Rachel is because she doesn't have access to any of Diana's jewelry. Well, her personal stuff, because at the time of her passing, William and Henry were underage, and she was divorced. So her brother Charles became the executor of her estate. Charles has control of all of her personally owned jewelry. And it's not surprising to me that he's keeping it within the actual Spencer family. That Spencer tiara, Diana would borrow it. It was not hers. That tiara stays with the Earl of Spencer to be worn by the Countess, his wife. It never will go into the possession of the Mountbatten Windsors. It's Spencer family property. When in the heck are people going to realize this? And Rachel only gets she finds and has copies made so she can pretend. And no, because of her behavior, she will not have access to any of the jewelry collection that is considered part of the royal jewels. It is for working family members only. You may see on occasion pieces being loaned to Zara, Lady Louise, Lady Sarah Chato, the York princesses, Eugenie and Beatrice, and I can't remember her name, but yeah, the Earl of Snowdon has a daughter, so she may be loaned certain pieces for extremely formal events where she will be in attendance at. So only very close working members. And yes, Lady Sarah Chato has some patronages. She's Princess Margaret's daughter. Princess Margaret had charities she was involved with, and upon her passing, yeah, her kids did pick up the slack. The Earl of Snowdon has some patronages, and so does Lady Sarah Chato. So for big events, yes, they held on to some of Margaret's jewelry, but for big events, yeah, they may be allowed to borrow certain pieces from the royal collection because they're actually loyal royal family members, not like Rachel. Well, this is about it. I want to get these uploaded, and so everybody have a great day. Yeah, I'll have a video up for you on the 28th, and I hope everybody has a good day. Talk later. Bye-bye.